Circuit.com and the director of the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival. And we're here today with Evan A. Baker, and we are going to talk about the upcoming film that he has screening at our event on August the 21st at the Clinton Street Theater near downtown Portland. Hey, Evan.
Hello.
Well, thanks for joining me today. And we would love to get to know, like, where are you from? And, are you from Portland originally? Like, give us a little bit of your background.
All right. Well, so my wife Jennifer and I made this film together. We met in Los Angeles, and we both went to did grad school at Mount St. Mary's University there, and we moved to Portland a couple of years ago, and are very, very, very happy here. We were relieved to get away from LA. It was a move we'd been planning for quite a long time.
That's awesome. That's cool that you did meet in LA. But now that I was always a big fan of Oregon, the weather and just the whole
Mm-hmm.
vibe, a little bit better than Southern California, a little bit more affordable to live, great community. And well, it looks like you did a film right here in the community. So please tell us a little bit about your film and how it came about. Why did you make this specific film?
Okay, so Hell is Other Witches was part of a 48-hour film project. If anyone watching isn't familiar with how those work, basically, it's a big event where teams sign up and are given 48 hours to write, shoot, and edit a 4 to 7 minute short film based on an assigned genre and a set of assigned prompts. You have to have there's a character, a line of dialogue, and a prop you have to include. So really what you have to do is come up with an idea based on those elements. This particular 48-hour film festival, the way that they were doing the genre was you were given a choice of two genres, and we were given the choice between fantasy and fish out of water, which is kind of an abstract one. So Jennifer, my wife, and another one of our group members, Caroline, both really liked the idea of doing a fish out of water story that was about like sort of high schooly social dynamics, hierarchies within a clique. But the two of them also really liked the idea of doing something about witches, which brought us back to fantasy. And it was Jen who kind of went, we can synthesize those things. We can do a story about a coven of witches who have this sort of high school hierarchy going on, where one of the characters is sort of the whipping girl of the others and feels like she's out of place in the group. And then at the same time, Caroline's boyfriend Will and I both had the idea separately. One of the characters we had to include was a realtor. And so we both came up with this idea. How do you do a realtor as fantasy? Well, what if instead of real estate, he is selling realities? So we had these twin premises of, sort of cliquish, competitive coven of witches and someone selling them a new reality. And then there were about 7 of us who just sat around for a couple of hours and spat out different ideas for how that could all go. And Jen and I sort of synthesized it all into a plot. And then Jen sat down and spent a few hours really fleshing it out into a story.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, it's good to hear that, 48-hour film festival spawned, like, it's like to get off the couch and do it.
Yeah. And we always, with 48-hour film festivals, we always challenge ourselves to go as far out as we can. We don't go, all right, we're going to use this as a chance to make some really, really tight little thing quickly. We go, all right, we've just been given these weird prompts. Let's just throw things at the wall. If it doesn't work, fine. It was a 48-hour film project. We learned something from it. If it does work, awesome.
Well, that's great. It's great that you went out and you just did it. And I want to ask you, I don't know if it was that easy the very first time you ever did anything at all, but I do ask everyone this question. At some point, you're a person walking around with great ideas. and at another point you're saying, I'm going to create a piece of content that people can actually look at.
Mhm.
How did that happen for you?
Very, very slowly, starting at a very young age. I fell in love with movies as a little kid,
Mm,
and so pretty much from about the age of 7, when my parents first got their first VHS camera, I was turning it on and getting into my werewolf Halloween costume and reading scary stories on camera. So then eventually I learned to hook two VCRs together with RCA cables and use play, pause, and record to edit my own stuff together. And then ended up going to undergrad and grad school for it and working in the industry, primarily in reality TV. Now I'm in advertising. But but really, this for me was just something I always did. And then
mhm.
to answer on Jen's behalf, since she's currently sleeping in because we are exhausted from a shoot we just did. But she always loved movies, and she's told me that she always felt like sometime in her life she wanted to make a movie, but somewhere right around the time, I think a little before we got married, we did a 48-hour film project together, and it was her
Oh
first
wow.
time working on a film, and we co-wrote it. And she was already an experienced photographer, so she came on board as director of photography. And that experience just left her feeling like, all right, yeah, I really need to keep doing this. So we've made a ton of projects together in the years since then.
Wow, that's so awesome that you have a team member. It's like in house. You're synchronized. You're making
Yeah.
things together. It sounds like you kind of made it. You kind of dragged her into it a little bit more seriously than she was. But
Yeah,
um,
but again, it was like, I've been talking about the story being fish out of water. This was like a fish getting put into the water. She got there and she was like, oh, I'm ready to swim.
oh wow.
There are areas of filmmaking where I think, despite my having been doing it a lot longer, she
Mhm.
has surpassed me for sure.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Well, is there anything you say you're continuing to work on projects? Is there anything that you maybe learned from Hella's Other Witches that is kind of like a learning experience for you that's helping you out on your projects now?
Hella's Other Witches was one where we had to fit a lot of story into very, very little runtime.
Hmm.
So, in terms of both the writing and the visual storytelling, it was one where we were forced to sharpen our economy. We
Hmm.
really had to work on how do we get all of this information out there in a clear, concise, and engaging way, and still have room for character beats and still have room for little moments.
Hmm.
So I think that's really the thing, is just it helped us sharpen the skill of just telling a story economically.
The 48-hour film festival is such a rush. Did you get an opportunity to really go back and tweak the video a little bit before submitting it to other film festivals, or did you just do it as it is?
We did. We cleaned up a little bit of effects stuff, and it's the same cut, but we cleaned up a little bit of effects stuff, and we had a new sound mix done.
Okay.
That you do not in 48 hours get a lot of time to refine your sound mix. And
Yeah.
the fact that Caroline, the other one who helped Jen come up with her sides of the story, she is an animator and a motion graphics artist, so she was essential in making some of this stuff work.
Oh my goodness. Well, what else you got going on in the future? You said you were just in production, like you're literally in production right now. Is that is
We
that?
just wrapped. Yeah, so we have sort of set up a deal with a local community theater group here in Portland called Theater in the Hood,
Mm,
where, because they've had to really shut down their live theater productions during COVID, and they're a very small group, and their thing is that they do free productions in like community centers, people's backyards, and they haven't been able to do that for a long time. So we helped them with their first efforts at doing video productions,
Mm.
and we ended up proposing to them more of a long-term collaboration. So over the last few months, we've been shooting about a film a month, working with them, all very
Wow.
short, but
Yeah.
and alternating who writes, who directs. But the one that we just finished is a horror film called Nourishment that I
Mm.
wrote and directed, and Jen DP'd and will be editing. That is about a college student who comes home for a break to see her pregnant mother and her creepy new stepfather.
Mm.
And I don't want to give anything away, but the stepfather turns out to be a much creepier figure than she realizes to begin with.
Uh-oh. I'm seeing a trend here as far as what you prefer to direct and what you prefer to work on as far as a genre.
I we branch out a little. The one that we did immediately before that was a comedy that was about. It's kind of an esoteric concept. It's about a girl coming out to her parents as preferring to do math in base 12. Um, yeah, it's a really strange concept. I'm anxious to see how Jen's also editing that one, and I'm anxious to see how it comes together in the final edit. But yeah, I would say probably 75% of the time we come back to horror or some other kind of very dark theme.
Oh, I see that. Well, that's pretty cool. It's good that you found the space you want to be in and you found a great team to work with. And it sounds
Mhm.
like you're with a group that holds you accountable to produce new
Yes.
products all the time. And I think that's important, especially for people who may not have any experience, with film at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
So
Or coming out of the pandemic where, well, to whatever degree we're coming out of it. Coming out of the most deadly part of the pandemic into the just everyone gets really sick all the time part. Um, you know,
yeah,
there's there was a couple of years there where we just didn't do anything. So we've been chomping at the bit.
distance from each other, we just couldn't gather, which brings me to, for some seasons of the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival, we do them at the Sunshine Mill winery and drive-in
Mhm.
theater. Obviously we don't do those in the summer because it doesn't get dark until like 9:15 at night, so
Right.
by the
Yeah.
time you're done watching the film festival, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
This particular event on the 21st is going to be at the Clinton Street Theater near downtown, which is a historic venue. It's been down there forever, and um, very artsy district of Portland. Can
Mhm.
you, from a filmmaker's perspective, what do you get out of a live screening versus a virtual streaming?
Um, I mean, immediate audience feedback,
Hmm.
hearing people react is really important. And then there's also just meeting people. There's a filmmaker named John Irvin who has had work. We've actually been in 3 different festivals where his film Common Monsters was showing,
Yes.
including the last Oregon Screams Film Festival. And so, in seeing him at all these festivals, we've gotten to talking to him, and he ended up coming and crewing on our shoot last weekend and
Oh,
being an
wow.
absolutely invaluable asset. And he's just a great guy. Like even if we didn't have filmmaking in common, it turns out he's just someone we want to know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's getting to know other filmmakers as filmmakers, and also just getting to meet really neat people is a lot of the appeal of it.
Man, that's awesome. Well, the sense of community, the sense of live, you can't beat that.
Hmm.
And man, we appreciate your time hanging out with us today. And is there anything you wanted to add before we get out of here?
I can't think of anything particular now.
All right. Well, thank you for coming down and spending your time with us today. And
My
I
pleasure.
I look forward to seeing you at the event on the 21st.
I look forward to seeing you.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.